let's begin. What better place than on line number one, I guess? This is Helen, and Helen is in Minnesota. Welcome, Helen.
I'm right here.
Hey, you're on the air.
Oh, young man, I really didn't want to be on the air, but number one, Trump.
Sorry, you apparently you didn't want to be on the air because your phone disconnected. So sorry about that, man. But I'm not sure why he was calling the call-in number if he didn't want to be on the air. But then he didn't want to be on the air. 866-315-2663. Not off to a great start there. Brian in Cleveland. Let's try Brian. What's going on, buddy?
Eddie, how you doing today?
Great, Brian. What do you got today?
Hey, Eddie, real quick. I hope you remember you were with us at Loud and Lima, a rock show back
yes.
2 years ago, Lyon, Ohio.
I do remember.
3 days, 3 great lineups. The rain problem aside, have you heard anything about the thing picking up either this year or next? I mean, I think you'll agree the 3 days, the lineups were outstanding, and just because of a little rain, I think people got scared away.
Well, Brian, the weather was not great. I do recall that. And also, if I'm being honest, Brian, yes, if you're a fan of those bands, the lineup was great. But the other side of it is those bands are also not bands that are going to draw enough people, even if you personally like them, to sustain a festival. So I think that weather certainly was not great, but the bigger issue is, regardless of if you like a band or not, or you think it's a great lineup because you personally like the bands that are playing, you have to separate yourself from that when you're looking at a festival's viability and say, but do these bands actually draw enough people to support a festival? And the answer in that instance was no, because the major problem with that, Brian, was it lost a lot of money. There weren't enough people there.
Yeah. Hey, I got one more question for you. This is a real quick one. Did you have any conversation with Kip Winger about his being nominated for a Grammy, but for, I think it was classical music?
Sure. I had him on my show 1 or 2 times leading into that Grammy Awards, yes.
What though? Is that something he's going to continue to do, or is that kind of a side project that he kind of got out of the system and he's going to go back to what he was doing?
Oh, he never did that at the expense of doing rock. He's always done it. Kip Winger has done classical music. He has been done ballet. He's done that stuff his whole life. It just so happens that he made a record like that ended up getting recognized, which obviously, and rightfully so, and thank you, Brian, for the call, that he's very proud of and very proud about. But he doesn't do that at the expense of doing rock. It's not like he left rock to do that. He does both things. It's just that doing that is so distanced from the world of rock that rock people don't know about it. Just like the people on the classical side probably don't know him as a rock guy. But no, Kip didn't leave rock to do that. He just did it and always has done that as an additional thing he does creatively. And I don't think he won the Grammy for the classical record, but just being nominated was, needless to say, a big thrill for him. Steve in Michigan. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Eddie. Big that Metal Show fan.
Thank you, Steve.
Great talking to you. Much to my wife's chagrin, I used to DVR it all the time. She's an Elton John fan, so you know where I'm coming from.
Do you still have them on your DVR?
No, we moved and got a new DVR. So
I hate when that happens. I had some shows I lost because of that too. But I got to tell you, man, I can't. I mean, it's crazy. I've got a brand new TV show on Access TV. Second season. It's premiering on July 7th. It's called Trunk Fest. And it's me covering music festivals. It'll be on 9:30 Eastern every Sunday. Second season is coming up. And I appreciate, but I do appreciate everybody still asking me about that metal show. Everywhere I go, years after it's been off the air, I'm still asked about it. And I'll tell you what, Steve, it's interesting you bring this up real quick, because just coming off of this weekend and the last month or so where I've been all over the place doing appearances and hosting and running into fans who always still bring up that metal show, that this morning, I'll let you in on something I haven't told anybody. This morning, I sent an email off to the one guy I know that still works for VH1 because everyone else is gone. And I just sent him a nice note, and I'm like, hey, man, because they own the show. And I was just like, I know, I'm just throwing this out there to you, that 4 or 5 years after the show's been off the air, I am still asked about it daily, constantly. And I'm like, you guys are sitting on these shows. They're not rerunning anywhere. You're not doing it. I mean, I told him, I said, I don't know if there's anybody I can talk to about this, but you're really sitting on something that's not going away still, and you should do something with it. And, I haven't gotten a response yet. I don't know if I will, but people continually asking me about it inspired me to at least send off that email and let the network that owns it know how many people still care about it. So if anything comes of it, I'll certainly let everybody know.
Yeah, I'll buy the DVDs, no doubt about it.
I don't think you'll get that. Unfortunately, that ship has sailed. Releasing DVDs, unfortunately, is becoming a thing of the past. But I'm just talking about either replaying the old shows or doing the show again. It wouldn't cost them that much. They could use it, and it would really help rock. But it's completely out of my hands. But we'll see.
Okay, now to my question. So I'm a huge Night Ranger fan. I honestly believe that they are one of the most underrated rock bands in history. And I'm wondering if you know what Jeff Watson, the former guitarist, is doing these days, and maybe even their former keyboardist, Alan Fitzgerald.
I don't know what Fitz is doing. Somebody told me that Jeff Watson may be sort of semi-retired, but I'm not sure. Honestly, Steve, I'm not 100% sure. Jeff Watson was, and I'm sure still is, a tremendous guitar player. That duo of him and Brad Gillis were just incredible. I mean, two guitar players of that magnitude in the same band, of trading off solos like they did back in the day. Jeff Watson basically inventing what they call, I think they call it like the 8-finger technique, the way he plays with those, with 8 fingers, like 4 and 4. Yeah, like a piano. So, yes, I would agree with you. I mean, just incredible band, and still are great. But I don't know what Jeff does.
Music in the last 10 years, too. I'd love to hear you play some of their stuff from the last 10 years, even.
Yeah, there was a song on a record about 6-7 years ago called Tell Your Vision that I liked a lot. That was a kick-ass track, and I remember that
was from 2008.
God,
that
11
album
years ago already. God.
Yeah, that album didn't get a lot of attention, but their last 3 have gotten a lot more. But anyway, really appreciate it, Eddie. Keep up the good work, everything you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Steve. I mean, look, that's the thing, though. Steve talks about that record didn't get a lot of attention. None of them do. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. Let's be honest. Outside of the ridiculously hardcore fans who know and care about bands like Night Ranger putting out new music and 1,000 other bands of that level, caliber, era putting out new music. I mean, I talk about this every single week. The records come out, they sell the first week to the fan base, and they are forgotten by week 2. None of them stand a chance for a variety of reasons. Bias against the genre, bias against the age of the band, incompetence from the record label or inability from whatever record label it is to work it or care about working it, radio having zero interest in playing new music from classic bands. It's a blanket of issues which results in 95% of new music from classic bands not having a chance in hell at any real longevity at all. Yes, the first week it comes out, everybody will talk about it and talk about where it entered the charts in week 1. And usually by week 3, it's completely off the charts because there is no real sustained support. Sell to the fan base, sell the pre-sales, get the big chart number in week 1, and you're gone by week 3. See it constantly. Can it change? Will it change? I mean, I don't know if the mechanism is in place for it to be able to be changed. I don't know if people care enough in order for it to be changed. But that doesn't mean that a lot of these bands do not make good new music. They do. But the outlets for it to be exposed are limited, to say the least. And even for established bands, brutally hard to stand out in the pack because there's just so much music being pumped out on so many different levels in so many different ways. In a little bit, I'm going to play a brand new Sammy Hagar song. I mean, I play this stuff all the time, but it's far and few between for true outlets to really be able to play it.